Boom!
It seems you have reached the end of another year. I trust it has been invigorating. Now comes the time to announce your favorites to your friends. Are your choices correct? Or are they another misplaced blunder? Look deep into your heart, and I believe you will find they have brought you closer to the reality you seek. I see you have drawn games from the past as well as the present. The list is yours, and you will have to live with the consequences of your deliberation. Perhaps others will find them as amusing as I did.
I should do my top 10 list.
Number 10.
Hunt Down by Easy Trigger Games is an action side-scrolling shooter with a retro pixel style set in a 1980s future dystopia where hair metal gangs and corporations rule society. You play as one of 3 bounty hunters that come with a unique skill who are tasked with going after bounties that make up a rogues gallery of boss fights. The levels show some good design, and they are littered with consumable weapons and power-ups and fair checkpoints. I like the fun retro vibes in Hunt Down, with crazy characters that fit right in with some of the zany dystopian future settings that came out of 80s cinema. The visuals and presentation match this with an arcade announcer voice and tons of explosions. The levels are designed to be challenging but fair, and the special weapons add a nice mix to the gameplay. Also going back to its arcade roots is that it is entirely skill-based, something that seems novel when compared to modern games. I really love the super tight controls and the awesome boss fights. Winning or losing entirely depends on how well I play. This goes well with the varied and cool bosses that are anything from fighting a helicopter on a rooftop, to a duo of sword and shuriken ninjas, to a guy swinging from a crane, to a sniper with a jetpack. It's all fun.
Bounty collected.
Number 9.
One of the all-time greats to come out of the PlayStation 1 era of video games, Final Fantasy VII by Square is totally worth the hype. This is a classic JRPG with a big world, variety of systems, and turn-based party combat. You take the role of Cloud and lead a team on a quest to chase after a person known as Sephiroth, meeting new characters along the way as you grow in power and you get closer to unraveling the mystery of what Sephiroth is doing. A task made easier if you have a handy strategy guidebook. The storyline, especially the first 2/3, is excellent and engaging as you go from place to place hot on the trail of Sephiroth. Besides Cloud, the characters you pick up on your adventure are thoughtfully written, and Final Fantasy VII does a great job building a world that is fun to explore. The customizations you can do with the Materia system are also flexible and feed into that great, classic JRPG combat. The music is terrific. Nobuo Uematsu never disappoints, and this is another shining example of his work. The summon powers are really fun. It's not every day a dragon blows up a planet just so that the debris can rain down destruction on an angry flower. But you can do it many times in Final Fantasy VII, and I was cackling with glee as I watched it. It is really a complete package of a game, and there are few areas where this game disappoints.
Number 8.
With over 12 years in early access, Project Zomboid by the Indie Stone is looking to be a pretty good game when it finally comes out. You take on the role of a survivor destined to die at the onset of a zombie apocalypse, and die you shall. The game prides itself on its realism as you figure out how to prevent death by zombie, minor infection, starvation, car crashes, hypothermia, CO2 poisoning, well, the list goes on. You use an isometric perspective and navigate a series of menus to interact with the environment in ways other games would never even attempt to simulate. Project Zomboid does a great job of world building. By navigating and scavenging the huge open world, you'll find breadcrumbs of how the military responded and how quickly people had to leave their belongings behind to try and escape. The visual style plays into it with clear indications of everything you may need, and the sound effects, while subtle, are incredibly helpful in determining whether there might be a zombie right outside your door. The game also makes an incredible attempt to have common sense realism. Things like disinfecting bandages with bourbon or removing glass from a broken window before climbing through make it feel like you have to think like everything is real. Where this game really shines though is in the gameplay loop of planning, scavenging, and consolidating. You must scavenge to survive, and it is always dangerous, especially at night when you can hardly see. But it is incredibly rewarding to come back to your home base with loot to put away or use, then repeat the experience again. It is buggy, and the UI is a huge obstacle, but this core game loop is so satisfying that I came to love Project Zomboid.
Number 7.
Persona 4 Golden is a modernized version of the PlayStation 2 JRPG classic from Atlus, and it is an excellent example of the Persona formula. The game has a balance of a living simulator, where you navigate hanging out with friends and going to high school, and diving into dungeons that offer turn-based party battles and bosses. Along with that, you capture personas, demons or spirits essentially, that you can fuse together to make new and more powerful personas that offer a great variety of skills and abilities to use. The game has a really fun murder mystery, and you get to experience that with a number of twists and turns that caught me off guard. This story is brought to life with great voice acting and a great sense of visual style. The whole game is themed around television, and the visuals really capture this commitment to the theme. It is also really fun to play through the school year, balancing who to hang out with, which can have a really big impact on your ability to fuse personas and engage in combat. In fact, the fusion adds a great layer of strategy and planning as you work to bring the most capable mix of abilities to combat. And the combat is awesome. I love the almost puzzle-like encounters that greatly reward learning enemy weaknesses and minimizing your own. The game is challenging, but through some strategic attacks, you can turn the tide against powerful foes and feel brilliant in the process. And all of this is with the backdrop of some amazing music. It fits right in with the high school and television theme and keeps things fresh as you grind your way through dungeons.
Number 6.
The Spell Brigade by Bolt Blaster Games, still in early access, is an awesome take on the relatively new vampire survivor genre of auto-casting spells against hordes of enemies. If you've played any of those, you know the basics. Survive, level up, get new spells, keep surviving, etc. This one sets itself apart with a little more variety in how spells progress and in the smooth way multiplayer is incorporated. Quite simply, it's way more fun than it has any right to be given how simple the premise is. Is built around easily teaming up and playing cooperatively, where the number of enemies and special objectives scale to suit the number of players. And it works really well. The presentation and visual style is low polygon, clean, and easy to read. This is really appreciated, as later in the game it is possible for everything to be a spam of damage indicators, yet somehow it is still readable. The variety of spells is also really fun. It's a staple of the genre, but the Spell Brigades adds elemental effects that influence how damage is dealt, as well as changing the visuals of those spells. A sword becomes a flaming sword when infused with fire, and a boomerang will leave a snowy particle when it is infused with ice, for example. Though what I love most is the feeling of it all. Finding the mix of random upgrades that overpower your characters feels fantastic and makes you feel like an unstoppable force of nature, like you broke the game. This is paired with excellent control, where navigating a horde of enemies swarming around you can feel almost impossible, but exhilarating when you pull off an escape. It's hard to put my finger on why this works so well, but it does, and it's awesome.
Number 5.
Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition by Forgotten Empires is the most modern remaster of the genre-defining classic from 1999. When it came out, it fit in as a near-perfect example of real-time strategy gameplay, with the race to build up your economy, attack your enemy with an army of units, and adapt your strategy to the game as it progressed. Beyond modernizing for current hardware, the Definitive Edition expands upon it with balance patches and new DLC. It has one of the best user interfaces in the genre, with important information on the screen, an easily readable visual style, a consistent yet adaptable set of hotkeys, and sound effects that let you know what's going on without even needing to see it. This allows the core gameplay of Age of Empires 2 to flourish. By removing UI barriers, you can focus on what matters: building structures, collecting resources, training troops, attacking enemies, and defending your territory. The artificial intelligence is also so competitive and scalable that you can have a ton of fun playing solo or cooperative without feeling like the AI is cheating or beneath your skill level. Though what I love most is the sheer variety of viable empires and strategies. You can have long-range archers as the Britons, plentiful cavalry as the Franks, fast-attacking infantry as the Japanese, or an army of spears as the Inca, and they are all equally viable so long as you adapt to what your enemy does. To make it even better, the balance between macro and micro is excellent. I rarely feel like I have to babysit my units, and I rarely feel like I can't influence a battle with some clever maneuvers. It all works so well and allows me to play and have fun regardless of my skill level.
Number 4.
Persona 5 Royal by Atlas is the enhanced edition of the 2016 JRPG standout. Bursting with style and following the traditional Persona gameplay, you play as a high school character who is forced to move to Tokyo for a year and discovers that he has the ability to cross over into an alternate dimension called the Metaverse. You gather a group of friends that act as your party and try to defeat shadow versions of villains to change their hearts so that they confess their crimes. This plays out with the typical living simulator, friend hangouts, persona fusion, and dungeon crawling that is a staple of the series. The story revolves around thematic questions about what actions should be allowed to change society for good, and what lines can and cannot be crossed. It's well done, and I enjoyed some of the ways that they ask these questions through actions of the villains and of the heroes. However, the characters are the heart and soul of this game, and just like other Persona games, increasing your bonds with them increases your ability to power up your Persona fusions. The music is great as well. It's a jazzy kind of cool that fits wonderfully with the visuals. And I can't say enough good things about the voice acting. It is simply incredible. They evoke so much character into the performances that I couldn't imagine other performers doing the same roles. The combat carries on from Persona 4 and enhances it even further, with clever boss fights and even more flexibility in your Persona skills, weaknesses, and resistances that keep it fast and fun. And most of all, the visual style is simply off the charts. Every scene, every transition, every action of Persona 5 oozes with style choices that fit how cool it is to be a righteous thief. It is smooth and a marvel to experience.
Number 3.
Dragon Quest XI-S by Square Enix shows that sometimes quality is better than innovation. This is a simple story of a chosen one who saves the world, but it is done so well that it is a blast to experience from start to finish. This is as traditional JRPG as it gets, with turn-based combat, a collection of fun characters that grow in strength and through personal journeys, and world traversal that has you learning about the world and its sometimes strange people. The characters you meet, like the dashing rogue, the flamboyant show stealer, and unexpected family connections, are a lot of fun. I thought everyone had their chance to shine, and the voice acting really brought that out. There's a lot of emphasis on accents in the English version to give the world more color, and I found it to be incredibly charming and wonderfully done. The visuals are an interesting mix of over-stylized people and monsters with incredibly beautiful cities and countrysides that I found myself in awe of. One of the things I found really valuable was that the storyline was family-friendly in addition to being really engaging. That doesn't mean that it shied away from tougher topics, but it did so with a lot of purpose and respect, and it was fun to share with my family as we went on our adventure. And what an adventure! So many places in Dragon Quest XI mimic real-world medieval settings. Places like a Scandinavian-inspired northern kingdom, a Hawaii-inspired island town, a Venice-inspired city, and many more. It was fun to guess what regions were being imitated, as well as listening to the often exaggerated accents of the residents. And the combat was very challenging but rewarding and fair. There was a little grinding needed, but managing a party's health, damage output, and special abilities of the enemies made for a great time in some very intense fights.
Number special mention?
Dispatch is a debut title from Ad Hoc Studios and combines TV-quality superhero animation with a serviceable resource allocation hero dispatch game. It is this mix that makes the game a special mention rather than a numbered addition to the list. The parts I love the most are all in the way it is like a TV series, and so I don't really know how to rank it in a list of games that have better gameplay, so consider this an unranked 11th title in my list. The story follows a superhero named Robert Robertson who loses a fight with a supervillain and loses his superpower of having a working mech suit. Robert is recruited by an agency to be a dispatcher that sends superheroes to solve various problems in a very corporate way. But while that drives the core gameplay loop, much of the game is guided by Telltale-style cutscenes with timed choices that allow you to have some agency on how characters interact or how some problems get solved, with ramifications on both the storyline and how the characters you interact with feel about you and their emotions involved. And wow, what cutscenes it has. The storyline is right up there with some of the best superhero shows or movies, as Robert navigates being a new guy trying to turn around a team on the brink of layoffs, with some characters needing that extra push to make the right decision when the moment of choice arrives. The gameplay, while not tremendous on its own, integrates wonderfully into the story as the banter feels natural given the setting and story. Having a tough workday means everyone is demoralized. Similarly, having a good day means people are in a more chipper mood. The story also strikes a great balance of heart and comedy. It's tough to have characters where you can laugh at them and also take them seriously depending on the moment, and I think Dispatch nails this balance with a mix of serious and humorous characters and the witty interactions between them. But what sets this apart is the quality of it all. The animation is smooth and colorful, and the fight scene choreography and effects are awesome. This is paired with top-of-the-line voice acting, anchored by a group of veterans like Aaron Paul and the always excellent Laura Bailey.
No one never come over to tell you that.
It's called minimalism. It's a lifestyle.
Brother, it is your life, but it's no kind of style.
Number 2.
Elden Ring by From Software is a masterpiece of third-person fantasy combat. Deserving of many Game of the Year awards, you play as a customized character called a Tarnished on a mission to become the Elden Lord of the Lands Between, through strength of will and skill. The game follows in the footsteps of the Dark Souls style of game, with an obscured storyline, great level design, and tough but fair combat. It was honestly hard to put this at number 2 on my list because Elden Ring is fantastic. Starting with the visuals, the colors and lighting stand out as amazing as you go through these alien biomes. There's dark and brooding, there's bright and colorful, and there's strange. The visuals feed into the world building to give a sense of purpose and history to places you go without even needing a word of explanation. I'll be honest, I had trouble understanding what the story was in Elden Ring, but I never felt like I missed out on the feel of the places I was visiting, be it a cursed academy, desperate fortresses, or once ancient cities fallen into hardship. The game design of Elden Ring is top-notch, with excellent, tight controls, a good variety of enemy types and attacks to learn, and great level design that feel both well integrated into the open world and also linear in their pathways. There's so much good to say about how all of these work in an incredible open world that felt like there was a secret around every corner, and it made it worth exploring every inch. And in that exploring, you will find all kinds of deadly monsters and characters, punctuated with epic boss fights that challenge you to keep calm, pay attention, and stay aggressive. It's a masterclass of third-person combat, especially melee combat. The thing that really seals the deal as one of the best games of all time is the immense freedom of character building. You can play around with your character stats, your weapon choices, your weapon enhancements, your ally choices, your consumables. It's all viable if you put the time in to embrace it and make it your style. I had so much fun trying out the different combos, even respecking my character multiple times through my playthrough, before arriving at my personal build that felt amazing.
Number 1.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 from Sandfall Interactive is an incredible experience from start to finish. You are set in a world under siege by death, as every year a number is written and a giant woman known as the Paintress counts down, killing everyone that age. Every year, an expedition is sent out to try and stop her, and you get to take part in that attempt, learning from those who went before. The game creates a unique world with surreal visuals and enemies. It also uses a more action-focused twist of JRPG turn-based combat that involves timed attacks, dodges, and parries. The visuals and music set the mood really well, as there's a lot of emphasis on color that feeds into the storyline's themes and characters, and it is at sometimes jaw-dropping. The combat feels powerful with sounds that hit and visuals that pop. It's really fun with wildly different character skills and abilities that somehow synergize very effectively with each other even when you develop different builds. And nothing quite beats that feeling of parrying an enemy attack. Yet the thing that will have this game stuck in my mind for years to come is the storyline and theme. Truly amazing twists and turns reshape what is happening in dramatic ways, and it all comes together at the end to put a stamp on the theme it is conveying. This game excels at presenting its theme through both gradual reveals and shocking twists. It is simply incredible, and I was emotionally invested in how it turned out. All this brought to life with amazing voice acting, and well-rounded characters that have divergent motivations and reactions to where the story takes us. The voice acting of Jennifer English and Ben Starr are especially good, but everyone on the cast deserves a round of applause. They gave life to these fictional characters, and I was sad to say goodbye to them at the end. Through it all, the cohesion of the combat, the visuals, the storytelling, the acting, all of it creates a complete package, and this game is truly worthy of being my game of the year. So that's my top 10 list of 2025. Thank you so much for watching my video. This was a passion project, and I hope you enjoyed it. I played a lot of great games this year, and I had a hard time narrowing down this list. It was the year of the JRPG, as 3 of my top 4 were turn-based JRPGs, and the other one is very much a Japanese-style action RPG. It was very close for my top spot, as both Elden Ring and Clair Obscur are so good, just so good. And with that, thank you again for watching.
Oh!